UCEAP. My name is Michelle Cobb, and I'm the Director of Global Programming here at UCEAP. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the UCEAP website. This presentation is intended for winter and spring program participants and their support networks, including immediate family, extended relatives, friends, and any other individual a student considers to be a support person. In a few minutes, my colleagues and I will be sharing UCEAP tools, support, and resources that prepare your students for this exciting cultural and academic journey. We'd appreciate it if you could complete this quick poll to help us tailor the content for future webinars. Just going to give you a few more seconds if you don't mind. Got a few more people that just arrived, so we'll give them a second to answer and then we'll go ahead and close it. Okay. Great, we'll move on to the next slide now. We'll be covering data privacy, an overview of UCEAP portal and its resources, pre-departure requirements, academic processes for courses and grades, health and safety topics, and finances. We will not be covering program-specific information such as visas, housing, post-university applications, or academic requirements. However, we will show you where your student can access this information and instructions on these topics. Please use the Q&A feature. UCEAP staff members will be answering questions from the Q&A throughout this webinar, and we will have time for live questions at the end of the presentation. I will now turn it over to Lauren.
Thank you, Michelle. My name is Lauren Nessler, and I am an Associate Program Director with UCEAP. I will be discussing privacy and support topics. At UCEAP, we deeply value and are committed to protecting the privacy and confidentiality of our students. Doing so is a legal requirement under U.S. federal laws, such as the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act, also known as FERPA, California law, such as the Information Privacy Act, and international laws. Because of these legal protections afforded to students, a UC staff member is generally prohibited from disclosing personal information, such as the student's contact information, location, program of participation, academic records, and financial records to any third party without the student's prior consent. This prohibition includes the student's family and friends. Students can authorize access to their records to family members during the application process or by sending an email to the contact on this slide to update the privacy preference. However, we do expect students to be the primary communicators with UCEAP staff in California and abroad. Managing communications throughout the process is part of the growth that students benefit from when studying abroad. In light of these laws, we encourage each student to proactively share program information directly with you, their support network, and to authorize the consent for disclosure of information to any trusted individuals in advance of their travels, wherever they feel appropriate to do so. We also understand that students want to connect with other UC students on their programs so that they can make travel plans and start to build a community. However, due to FERPA regulations, we cannot share contact information of other participants. However, students will have an opportunity to connect with other UC students on their program, either through campus-based events or virtual connections through events hosted by the UCEAP system-wide office. So do encourage your student to reach out to their UCEAP advisor about these events or for information on how to set up group chats on social media platforms such as Discord. UC and UCEAP have a robust staff of experienced professionals to support your student throughout their entire study abroad journey. We're going to highlight various offices and explain who the student's main point of contacts are for specific topics. So we start with the UC campus contacts. Since students are still considered UC student while they're on their UCEAP program, they will still need to work with their UC campus offices on the following campus-specific topics. So students are going to go to their campus study abroad office for campus-based processes and requirements, such as the ones that are listed on this slide. Additionally, students will go to their academic advisors and departments to discuss pre-approvals and course equivalencies, major and minor and degree requirements, graduation timelines, campus unit caps, and senior residency requirements. We're going to go into more detail about the academics in the academic section of this presentation. And finally, students will go to the campus financial aid office to get information on what types of aid are available, questions about individual financial aid estimates, and aid disbursements. The QR code on this slide will take you to the page on the UCEAP website that lists the campus study abroad contact information. And next we have the UCEAP system-wide office, and that's those of us who are presenting to you today. The UCEAP system-wide office works very closely with the campus offices to support your students. Once students have been nominated to a program, they will work with the staff in our office on their program-specific requirements. So every program has a designated study abroad advisor and program specialist who work closely together on the logistical aspects of the program. So questions about pre-departure requirements, visa immigration guidance, host applications, pre-departure orientations, general housing information, health and safety precautions, and arrival information and calendars can go to the study abroad advisor and program specialist. Academic specialists are responsible for UCEAP academic policies and documents, guidance on course offerings and registration, grades, petitions, academic records, and UCEAP study lists. And UCEAP finance accountants handle anything related to UCEAP statements, program fees, and collection timelines, financial aid distribution, in conjunction with the campus financial aid office, withdrawal fees, and refunds. We, again, do expect your student to be the primary communicator when seeking information and asking questions. Your student can find the contact information for our system-wide staff on the UCEAP website and in their UCEAP portal. You can use the QR code on the slide to find the system-wide office contacts. And we have support abroad. So the on-site support system will look different from program to program, but no matter the program, students will have a main point of contact for on-site matters. Some programs do have a local UCEAP study center. Other programs have staff support at their host university international office, and others will have local support through a study abroad provider. For more information on the type of on-site support your student's program provides, review the support tab on the UCEAP program pages. Your student will also get the contact information for their primary on-site support staff in their arrival information and in the program guide. I'm going to turn it over to Ashley Arvanites, who will cover the UCEAP portal.
All right. My name is Ashley Arvanites, and I'm the Pre-Departure Managing Supervisor. Your students have a private account in our system called the UCEAP portal. This is where they apply to their program and have access to a wealth of program, financial, academic, and health and safety information. Sit down with your student or set up a video call so they can walk you through the areas of the portal that are of interest to you. In addition to tracking their requirements in the UCEAP portal, students also need to check their email for important reminders and updates during the pre-departure process and once on site. Within the portal, there is a pre-departure menu that consists of requirements and tasks they must complete before departure, information about program dates and calendars, insurance details, health and safety information, policies, petition, and a list of UCEAP contacts. We won't go through every pre-departure section now, but we will highlight a few key pieces of information that your students can find in each of these sections. So this slide has a sample screenshot of the pre-departure requirements section of the UCEAP portal. The items within the requirements section may vary slightly by program, but each item includes a variety of resources and links with more information. If you'd like to learn more about a specific topic, ask your student to share the links and resources. One of the most important resources in this section is the program guide. Each program guide contains detailed information on local and emergency contacts, academic information, packing tips, money and banking abroad, internet and phone access, housing and meals, cultural awareness, and disability accommodation information. Housing information items include details about available housing options, the reservation or application process, and deadlines or timelines. Your student is responsible for taking the steps required to secure their own housing abroad. Visa and entry requirements will vary by program, so it's essential that your student reviews this information carefully. The process and timeline depend on a number of factors, including a student's citizenship, program duration, visa regulations, visa processing timelines at the consulates and embassies, etc. If a visa or residence permit is required, guidance will be posted in the pre-departure requirements section of the UCEAP portal. If there are any other citizenship considerations for a program, these are also noted on the Dates and Eligibility tab of the UCEAP website. Once available, arrival information is posted in the requirements and program date section of the pre-departure menu. These include details on how to get to the program location, who to contact in the event of a flight delay, and much more. Your student may come to you with questions, but rather than completing the task for them, encourage your student to take an active role in preparing for their program. We know they're busy with classes and extracurricular activities, but the best support you can provide is to encourage and empower them to utilize existing resources and reach out on their own to get their questions answered. All UCEAP students are responsible for purchasing their own airfare, as UCEAP does not arrange group travel to and from program locations. We encourage students to purchase refundable and changeable airfare tickets in the event that there are changes to program start and end dates. UCEAP cannot refund ticket costs if your student's plans change. We strongly recommend that your student waits to purchase their flights until the program dates are finalized. When available, the program dates section will appear in the pre-departure menu in the UCEAP portal. Program dates and calendars for some programs may not be available until closer to the program start date, but your student will be notified via email once the calendar is available or if there are any changes to the program dates. All UCEAP students are required to be present on site from the program start date through the program end date. Students not on site by the official start date are subject to disciplinary action and may miss important on-site activities and steps. This puts these students at a disadvantage as they miss key information that is essential for a successful time abroad, and they won't be able to participate in the initial bonding opportunities with other students in their cohort. It may be possible for a student to arrive early or stay after the program ends, but it will depend on a number of factors, including visa duration, citizenship, and housing availability. Interested students can contact their program specialist to learn more. Now we're going to launch a quick poll to see how familiar you are with the resources we've shared so far. So this question says, has your student shown you the UCEAP portal or other resources that we've covered? So we've got a couple of answers on there. Looks like a mix, but more no's than yeses at this point. All right, we'll give it just another few seconds and then we can end that poll and share the results so you all can see where everyone else is. All right. So we're going to move on now to some information about mandatory orientations. So each student will have at least 3 mandatory orientations. One with the campus, one with UCEAP, and an on-site orientation. So each UC campus hosts their own campus-specific orientation, which typically covers campus-based study abroad processes. They may also include cross-cultural communication workshops, which can prepare students for the transition to life in another country. UCEAP staff, study center staff, or partner host institution staff will host at least one virtual orientation webinar during the pre-departure phase. These orientations cover visa applications, housing, money and banking abroad, health and insurance, safety, academics, including course information, and local staff contact info. And finally, the on-site orientations will cover practical aspects of living abroad, including obtaining a local SIM card, local transportation, emergency numbers, health and safety, accessing medical care abroad, academic cultural differences, and administrative and academic processes at the host institution. Let's talk a little bit about what your student can expect while abroad. We know your student is excited about the opportunity to travel, immerse themselves in a new culture, and make new friends. But studying abroad also means challenges, discomfort, and growth, as things may operate and look very different than what they're used to on their UC campus. These differences can sometimes be unsettling, especially in the beginning, but encourage your student to get outside of their comfort zone, practice their flexibility and adaptability, and to interact with locals to learn more about their new culture. This is all part of the experience, and navigating these differences and challenges often leads to an increase in confidence, adaptability, and problem-solving skills. If your student experiences an issue while abroad, such as having no hot water in their apartment or a conflict with a roommate, they may alert you as you're part of their support network. While it is helpful for you to empathize with them, please encourage them to contact local staff rather than trying to solve the problem for them from afar. Local and on-site staff are best equipped to assist with both routine and urgent matters. Having your student take ownership of their experience and learn to be self-sufficient is key to a successful study abroad experience and provides the foundation for transformational growth. Later in this presentation, our Director of International Health, Safety, and Crisis Management will cover what to do if your student alerts you to a more serious health and safety emergency. Our next speaker to talk about UCEAP academics will be Professor David Lopez-Carr.
Hi, everyone. I'm actually going to hop in and cover the academic topics for us today. So all students earn direct UC credit for the courses they take through UCEAP. UCEAP will automatically transmit courses, units, and grades back to the UC registrar, and they will be added to your student's UC transcript. However, whether those courses can count towards major, minor, or GE or breadth requirements is actually determined at the individual UC campus. So therefore, your student should initiate conversations on how coursework applies to degree progress by speaking to their department or college advisors early, and then continue that communication with those advisors throughout the entire study abroad experience. Some campus-based academic advisors will give approvals prior to participation, but many will not. So students should retain all of their academic work from their time abroad to help facilitate the articulation process. It is up to your student to understand the petition process and to follow through with the final steps upon their return. So as I mentioned previously, we do have a team of specialists at the UCEAP system-wide office who serve as your students' academic advisors for their time abroad. The academic specialists provide your student with information on how to register for courses, enrollment requirements, pass, no pass policies, assessment and grading processes, as well as how to navigate different academic cultural contexts abroad. Your student will have contact with the academic specialist prior to departure, and then will continue to work with them while they're abroad. Courses, assessments, and grades. So grading methodologies may differ significantly among different higher education systems around the world. Understanding and adapting to those differences is part of the study abroad journey. The academic specialists and on-site staff will provide students with information on how assessment methods may differ than what they're used to at UC. They will also provide deadlines for study list submissions and grading option changes. Pass, no pass options are often available for UCEAP coursework, similar as they would be on a UC campus. It's important that students adhere to the deadlines given to them by the UCEAP staff. Again, similar as they're on their home campus, the deadlines will be enforced. If applicable, your student will receive grading translation information after they arrive in country. Grading and grade transmission abroad takes much longer than it is used to at UC. So students must be prepared for their grades to take on average from 1 to 3 months to transfer back to their home campus. So we're going to do a quick quiz now on UCEAP academics. So go ahead and select all the statements that are true about UCEAP academics. All right, any more takers for the quiz? All right. So, so the only one that was not true is the first one that says students have to petition to get any credit for their time on UCEAP. So that is not true because students will automatically get direct UC credit for all the courses that they take on UCEAP. The other 3 answers were true. So excellent job. We'll move on to the next slide. The academics team is responsible for maintaining academic standards while helping students navigate academic challenges. The first challenge can be focusing on the purpose. Fundamentally, embarking on a UCEAP program is not travel abroad, it is study abroad. It is education. The primary purpose is learning inside and outside of the classroom in another part of the world. Students will be in a new culture and experience differences in learning and teaching, and that's a big part of why you learn so much from studying abroad. Students do need to be ready to adjust to cultural differences in teaching and learning. If your student is registered with the Disability Services Office on their UC campus and receives academic accommodations, please encourage them to obtain a disability accommodation letter for their study abroad program and submit it to their UCEAP program specialist. We will help facilitate the process of requesting academic accommodations at the host institution, but it can take time to finalize accommodation plans. Therefore, it is in your student's best interest to start the process as soon as possible, ideally a few months before they depart, to investigate whether the specific accommodations will be available and can be met. The accommodations your student receives at their home UC campus may be different or unavailable at the host institution abroad. Sometimes your student will not learn whether accommodations are available at the host institution until after they arrive. Remember, your student has a wide academic support network, including their campus academic advisors, EAP academic specialists, on-site staff, and the associate deans. If they find that they are struggling with academic adjustments, encourage them to reach out for help. Our next speaker is going to be Julie Pollard.
Thanks, Lauren. Hello, everyone. I'm Julie Pollard, the Director of International Health Safety and Crisis Management. Safety is a partnership and a shared responsibility that requires students to be well-informed and active participants in their own well-being. Our department provides tools, resources, and guidance on how to remain reasonably healthy and safe while abroad, and provide emergency support when things go wrong. I'd like to discuss supporting your study abroad student, understanding what health and safety resources students have access to, and how to utilize them. All resources described are available to all participants and are detailed in the student portal that Lauren previewed earlier. On your screen, you will see the UCEAP portal with red arrows pointed to insurance and health and safety. Safety recommendations specific to your student's program are detailed in the health and safety section. We encourage students to review this section of the portal with their support network. In preparation, all students must obtain a health clearance. Health clearance is an important and required component of studying abroad. If your student has not started this process, the instructions are in the UCEAP portal under pre-departure requirements. First, students must complete a confidential health history form. This form is only shared with a doctor or medical practitioner and is not submitted to UCEAP. This form is meant to help guide conversations about program participation with a medical professional. The instructions may differ based on the UC campus, but this slide shows the overall process. It is important to be honest about any conditions your students manage, concerns regarding wellness while studying abroad. For example, consider if the program has any requirements such as physical activity, or if the location requires significantly more physical activity than your student may be used to in daily life. Prescribed medication should also be researched for legality and availability in the program country. If specific conditions necessitate seeing a medical specialist, such as a psychiatrist, it is important to discuss a treatment plan and what is needed in order to be successful in the program. Please encourage your student to be mindful of the deadlines for this important process. All students are required to complete an hour-long online UCEAP health and safety course. This slide provides an overview of the learning outcomes. It was developed by University of California experts and includes essential and helpful information to better prepare for study abroad. The first 4 sections of this course cover health and safety topics that benefit all students studying in all program locations. The course may require a 5th country-specific section depending on the program location. The University of California partners with several organizations to support students. Chubb is our insurance provider for the UC travel policy. AXA is our travel assistance provider of this policy. LYRA is our virtual mental health provider. Crisis 24 is our risk management partner, helping the UC to operate globally. In the next slides, we'll explore what each organization is, what they provide, and how their services can be utilized. As a UCEAP participant, students are automatically enrolled in the Student Travel Insurance Policy designed by Chubb for the University of California. The plan provides medical and non-medical benefits. Student travel insurance serves as the primary medical coverage while abroad, but it is not the same as health insurance in the United States. It does not cover preventative care, but it does offer unique coverages such as the emergency reunion benefit. If a student is enrolled in UC SHIP while on campus, they will need to continue that enrollment while on UCEAP. Costs for medical care must be paid out of pocket and are then reimbursable according to the policy details. Some of the policy benefits include prescription drug benefits, mental health counseling and a crisis hotline, medical or security evacuation, and continued treatment for pre-existing covered conditions. AXA is the travel assistance provider. They can help connect the student with specific medical care abroad, evacuate in the event of a serious medical emergency, and provide global health teleconsultation through their app called Dr. Please. If a student has a more complex medical case that might require a specialist treatment plan while abroad, Access Continuity of Care Planning can assist in organizing the support needed before leaving the United States. We know that insurance is a complex topic, and therefore we provide extensive information on our website, including the insurance policy brochure. We also have a specific staff member in my team dedicated to insurance issues and questions. Use the QR code on this slide to access the section of our website. Lyra offers virtual mental health sessions as well as a DIY approach through their online library of videos, articles, strategies, and meditations. Lyra provides up to 20 mental health counseling sessions for no additional fee. There is no paperwork and no fee is required. Students simply sign up and attend their sessions. Coverage begins on arrival day in the program country. This QR code takes you to the sign-up page. The link is also available in the UCEAP portal. Crisis 24 provides risk advice and alerts, innovative technology, and security evacuation services. All students are automatically enrolled to receive travel alerts for their program country and city. These email alerts keep students informed of events that may impact daily life. It is important to read them and consider the advice provided. The Crisis 24 app allows students to research any location and obtain global travel tips. A personal profile can be created where alert notifications are customized. This is helpful when planning personal travel to other countries and cities. For example, while on a personal trip to London, you are alerted to a protest happening near a museum you intend to visit. Having this information allows you to reconsider your plan and be properly informed about what is happening. The Crisis 24 app makes this process easy. The top right QR code directs you to an Office of the President website that describes our relationship with Crisis 24. During a crisis, UCEAP will issue a welfare check. This means that a student will receive an email and a text message from our emergency communication system asking for them to check in. We conduct a welfare check drill for all students in all programs to familiarize them with the welfare check tool and process in the event of an actual emergency. This drill typically occurs in the beginning of the program, and it's online. Responding to the welfare check drill is a requirement stated in the UCEAP participation agreement, which is also available in the portal. Not responding will result in a disciplinary warning. Students must update their local contact information abroad in the portal to ensure we can reach them during a crisis. We recognize that eSIMs are a popular way to maintain data access internationally at an affordable rate. Please know that this does not always allow a student to make a phone call, which may be required in an emergency. It is important to have a phone and a plan that allows calls to the UCEAP emergency line, to Chubb AXA Global Travel Assistance to open a case, or to dial local emergency services. If a student is traveling outside their program city, they are required to complete a travel sign-out in the UCEAP portal so that they can be reached in the event of an emergency. UCEAP operates an emergency phone line that is answered 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Calls are answered by an emergency answering service and then directed to either myself, a member of my department, or senior leadership in the global program team. Our emergency responders are trained and tested in dealing with all types of emergencies. The website listed on this slide is UCEAP's In an Emergency page. It defines an emergency and details how to report incidents. Students also have access to local support, and that information is available in the UCEAP portal in the program guide. As a final reminder, please remember that UCEAP's website and student portal are filled with resources and information that students should be reading. Using these resources proactively rather than reactively will help maintain wellness while abroad and cultivate an understanding of risks. And last but certainly not least, please reach out and ask for help before a situation becomes more serious. Wellness is truly a partnership, and together our goal is for students to have a successful academic experience. Can we please launch our health and safety quiz? So which of the following are required of all program participants? Please mark which ones you think are required. Got almost 100 people who've responded. Let's give it another 3 seconds. Okay, so the only one that was not required is downloading the Crisis 24 Horizons app on your mobile phone. That is something we suggest, we highly encourage it, but it is not required. The others are required. I will now turn it over to our next speaker, Nathan Nateris.
Great. Thank you, Julie. Hello, students, parents, guardians, and support networks. I'd like to give you a quick kudos for participating in the polls. I love seeing those numbers be really high. My name is Nathan Ateras, and I'm a finance accountant at UCEAP. At this point in the student journey, you're likely making plans and anticipating expenses for their study abroad program. I'd like to talk a little bit about support available to students regarding program cost, making payments to UCEAP, and ensuring a seamless financial aid experience as you move from campus to your program and back to your campus. Every program has a dedicated finance accountant who is available to assist your student with questions on UCEAP cost, program payments, and credit balance disbursements in conjunction with your financial aid office. You will also find the country-specific contact information for your finance accountant on the UCEAP contacts page that was referenced earlier in this presentation and in the contact section of the UCEAP portal. Total estimated program cost, including fees paid to UCEAP and out-of-pocket expenses, are available publicly on the Cost tab of the individual program page on the UCEAP website, so you can have a comprehensive understanding of the costs associated with a program. Financial aid offices will include all program and personal expenses when determining an individual financial aid package. There are further breakdowns of fees and more finance information inside the UCEAP portal under the Finances section. In the first section of the Estimated Budget section, you will see details about fees paid to UCEAP, including campus fees, UCEAP fees, and UC fees. Next is a section that estimates personal out-of-pocket expenses, including round-trip airfare, housing, meals, local transportation, pre-departure expenses like visa fees, and other incidentals associated with participating in the program. These expenses are updated yearly using data collected from students and our partners abroad. The Fees and Payments section has information about accessing the Transact Payment Portal to make program payments and other details about financial aid and withdrawal fees. Payment deadlines vary by program and are listed on this page. UCEAP uses a third-party payment processor known as Transact to collect online payments of UCEAP fees. Students can invite parents to Transact to make payments on their behalf if they wish. Credit card, debit cards, and e-checks online payments are available. Note that the bank statement will show UC Santa Barbara and not UCEAP. There are detailed instructions on how to make payments and how to give third-party access to make payments at the bottom of the Fees and Payments section. Note, third-party access does not give you full access to a student's UCEAP account. Extended payment plans are available for UCEAP students. Please contact your country's finance accountant for more details about payment plans. For students eligible for financial aid from their home campus, aid is transferred to UCEAP prior to the program start date, and students do not need to do anything to get their aid transferred. This is an automatic process. Aid is typically dispersed no sooner than 10 days before the program start date. However, each UC has a unique timeline and may have delays in preparing financial aid. This means you and your student may need to make arrangements to cover some out-of-pocket expenses like airfare prior to financial aid disbursement. Financial aid students are not required to make the $950 first payment deposit. There is a $500 withdrawal fee for any withdrawals received after the deadline, which will be November 1st for winter quarter and spring semester programs and December 1st for spring quarter programs, and prior to the program start date. There may also be additional withdrawal fees assessed by our partners abroad, but more information is available in the fees and payment section of the finance menu in the student's UCEAP portal. If the student is not accepted into the program, no fees will be billed. The financial impact of withdrawing involves many factors, including the timing of the withdrawal and the program the student is participating in. We highly encourage you review the withdrawal fee information with your student in the fees and payment section of the finance menu in the UCEAP portal. And now we're going to go back to Lauren.
Thank you, Nathan. And thank you everybody for joining us. We are going to move into our Q&A section now. We have been receiving questions throughout the presentation, have been popping answers in there, but if you have additional questions, please do go ahead and continue to use the Q&A feature. I'm going to turn it over to Noah Cutchins to moderate this section.
Thank you, Lauren. And thank you for all the questions that you were able to ask in the Q&A. I think we had a lot of variety and a lot of interesting questions that are applicable to many of you. So one of the common questions that we saw come in was arrival times. How early should a student arrive on a program? When do they get their program start dates? And also, when your student hasn't been accepted yet, how do you plan for that? So maybe I can ask Ashley to answer some of these questions.
Yeah, so as I mentioned earlier in the presentation, the program official program start and end dates are going to be available potentially at different times throughout the cycle. Some of them may be available as soon as students are really beginning that pre-departure process and are accepted into the program, whereas other ones, it may not be available until a month or two before the program departs. And that is all dependent on the timeline that our host institution and partners operate on. So for those students, we always recommend that they don't purchase any airfare or consider purchasing changeable airfare until all of their program dates have been finalized. Otherwise, students may find themselves paying some pretty hefty change fees, or they may have to end up purchasing, they might have to end up buying a different flight in order to be able to participate in the program.
Thanks, Ashley. And we had some academic questions, and they were related to how the courses translate to degree progress. How is the registrar informed? Do students do that? How do we do that? So be a quick explanation of how our administration works in passing along grades and whether that will apply to graduation. And then there was also a question about semester to quarter unit conversion. So Jessica?
I can hop in as well.
Oh, Lauren, okay.
So your student does not need to report to the registrar that they are on UCEAP. Our office handles that along with the campus study abroad office, so we're in communication about that. As far as degree requirements, so as I mentioned in my section, students will get direct UC credit. It'll be on their transcript. It'll have course titles, units, and grades will all be in there. Their GPA will be calculated into their UC GPA. They do need to work with the major, minor departments to talk about major, minor credit, what's going to apply directly to that major credit, and then also to their college or school for GE or breadth requirement credit. what was the last one you said? Oh, semester to quarter to semester. So we do have programs of varying lengths. So we have summer programs, and then we have some semester programs, and we do have some quarter programs. So the way it fits in with your student schedule is really going to depend on the program that they have applied to. Typically, if a student is going on a spring semester program, they are going to be missing their winter and quarter back at UC. But then we also have spring quarter programs as well, which align with the spring calendar. So it really depends on the program that your student is on.
Julie, we've had a couple questions about SIM cards and how they might work, and also that the fact that students now use WhatsApp a lot for communications, they might need a data plan. Can we give our recommendations about how to cover this issue?
Sure. I would recommend first exploring with your current cell phone provider if there is an international plan option that they recommend that would allow the student access to data at a reasonable rate, but also allow them to make a phone call. I have had numerous examples of students only having a data plan, and what happens in an emergency is that they call dad on WhatsApp, mom calls me on another phone through the emergency line, and we have a 5-way phone conversation about what is happening. Meanwhile, the student likely would have been able to address the emergency sooner had they been able to either call the emergency line directly or access local emergency services. So I really encourage you to think twice before considering a data-only plan. If you're not interested in taking your US-based phone abroad, then please consider buying a local phone with a local SIM card that will work in the program country city where your student will be.
Thank you. And there's also a lot of questions about housing, and that would be vetting homestays, and if it's prearranged, when will students find out their housing arrangements, and something as simple as how does housing work? So if someone can take this question and maybe be a little specific and cover all the situations that we encounter as well.
I can sort of get us started for some of the housing. We have over 160 different programs, and so the housing looks very, very different program to program. Some of them have program arranged housing, which means that this is already included and it is already prearranged for students. But I would say the vast majority of our programs, students are going to be making arrangements, whether that is submitting an application to live in on-campus accommodations or doing their own research to find off-campus accommodations. All of the program pages and the program guides are going to have some general information on our website about the types of housing opportunities that are available for each of the individual programs. And then within the UCEAP portal, in the individual program guide and the housing information item posted in the pre-departure requirements are going to list sort of what the options are, links to different resources, information about the timeline to apply for housing, or recommendations on when students should start to look for housing and plan on getting that housing secured. There are even some locations where students are looking in advance, or they may arrive on site before the program starts and may look to finalize their housing once they have arrived on site. Let's see, anyone else want to add to any of the other housing topics that I might have missed?
I think there's just a question about the vetting process, and that will depend on the housing, what they've selected with homestays and which partner we're working with, or perhaps a university in those situations. But we do have interviews with the families, and they go to the housing and look at them for some situations, and then our other providers are responsible for that vetting process. So again, it varies. If you'd like to reach out to your program specialist and ask specific questions, we can answer those a little bit more detailed.
We have a lot of finance questions, and especially about financial aid. And I know that might be very specific depending on the student situation and the campus. So maybe Nathan, you can revisit how the support networks can get the information from finance for their specific questions.
Yeah, of course. It's a great question, and I would definitely say, if you have the time, most UCs and their financial aid offices have someone who is dedicated to learning the ins and outs of financial aid when it comes to students studying abroad. So if you can definitely, find out who that person's name is, see if you can set up a one-on-one or a group meeting, with a student. And that way you can make sure that you're getting the most, accurate and beneficial information regarding financial aid. But I think that would be the best advice I can provide since it is very UC specific. Please note that, financial aid is different from UC to UC. So if you have friends from other UCs, don't assume like it's going to work the same way. So definitely contact the person from your UC financial aid office who's dedicated for study abroad aid to get a good idea of what the process looks like.
And a question about visas. I think there's been some inquiries about program length, when you need a visa, when you don't, what type of visa you would need. When would students find out that information?
Take this one as well. So in each of their pre-departure requirements, there is information on the visa or entry requirements. Again, that's going to vary on the individual program, but that information usually is available as soon as students really begin that pre-departure phase, which normally is anywhere from let's say probably 4 to 6 months before a student departs. Some of our programs aren't going to require a visa at all for US citizens, but may require a visa or additional steps for students on that same program going to the location because they have a different passport type. We do have other programs where there are very, very detailed guidance and steps and instructions, including timelines that students will need to follow in order to be able to apply for their visa. There are potentially other limitations on how soon or when a student can apply for their visa, and that may be dictated either by the consulate or when their host institution or partner provides their acceptance materials that may be a requirement of their visa application process. So all the students, I would assume at this phase, we're looking at October for our winter and spring students, I'd say the vast majority, if not all of the students, should have access to some detailed visa guidance or immigration information already in their pre-departure requirements section of their UCEAP portal.
And a very top level question that's recently been asked. If a student submits their app, how do they know what the next steps are? When will they receive a contact from UCEAP, and what will that timeline look like?
I can take this one too. So applications sometimes are going to be open 9 to even potentially 12 months before a student's program could potentially start. So once a student actually submits their UCEAP application, it could be a couple of weeks. If at this point your students are already in the UC, they're already considered UCEAP participants, but there may be host application processes that they need to follow, and the return time is really, really dependent on our individual partners. I have some partners in Canada, for example, where students are expected to find out their final acceptance within 3 weeks. I also have other partners, for example, in China, who may not hear back for 2 months about their final acceptance. So it really varies a lot, program to program, and even partner to partner within the same country or location. So that information generally is provided so students can understand in their pre-departure requirements. There is going to be information about when they might expect an update on their host institution application if it is required for participation. So not every one of our programs is going to require a host institution application or registration.
And there was a question about students traveling during their program. To what extent are they permitted to do that in the process? So Julie, can you just maybe talk about that quickly?
Sure. So we encourage students to wait to book any travel. They should understand their academic requirements, their responsibilities to the program prior to booking any kind of independent travel. If students do travel, they need to be mindful of visa regulations. Are they able to re-enter their program country? are they able to enter the country they intend to travel to, they also need to complete a travel sign out in the UCEAP portal. We need to understand when students are leaving their program city for more than 24 hours. So we ask students to inform us of that.
Okay, and a very common question that we come across, how can students who are going abroad contact each other? What resources do we provide, or what resources are responsible for students to make their own contacts, etc.? So this is always a tough one to answer, Lauren.
Sure, I can take this one. So as I mentioned in the privacy section, we're not allowed to distribute contact information for all students, but if your student would like to set up a social media channel for their group, what we do is just ask them to contact our office, either the study abroad advisor or the program specialist. They can set up, for example, Discord tends to be the most common one we see now. If they want to set up a Discord channel, our team would be happy to distribute that to the other students on the program, and then they can connect with each other. That tends to be the most effective way for students to get in contact with each other.
Okay, and another question is, I think a lot of people were wanting information on slides that came past. How can they access this presentation, either by recording or viewing the slides?
So we are going to be posting the recording to the What Families Want to Know webpage. We will be sending out an email to all the students who received the original invite to let them know when it's been posted, and then they can go ahead and share that with you if you're as part of the support network. And so we'll let everybody know as soon as that is posted.
And just to conclude with this Q&A section, maybe we can explain for the ways to find the right contacts for anything related to finance, anything related to health and safety, anything related to programming, anything related to just very specific questions in student situations.
So we do have the UCEAP contacts page on our website, which it's been on the QR codes we've been sharing along the way. So that would be the best place to find the program specific contacts for study abroad advisors, program specialists, academic specialists, and finance accountants. I'm going to probably defer to Julie on this one, but the best place to go for your health and safety contact information is within the portal. So students need to go to make sure that they kind of burn into their brain where that information is in the portal so that they can easily access it when they're abroad.
For parents, families, support networks, I would recommend that you bookmark this website. This is your first point of contact. If your student is unsure of who's supporting them and how they can be helped in a crisis, please consult the In an Emergency webpage.
I think those are the questions that we have received for the most part, and hopefully we were able to answer the questions that you had and provide the resources for the questions that you might need some follow-up on.
Thank you everybody so much for joining us this evening.